Hey, you, stranger. Yes, you, stranger. Over here, quick. I might have some goods that will interest you. Oh, yes, take a look. Pick one of any of these fine games.
I thought you said there'd be something interesting.
You ignorant fool! These games are some of the best things you could ever have.
Dude, have you looked around? There's zombies on the streets and people breaking into stores. Like, I was just running from like a few raiders. I don't know where the hell they went actually. But yeah, I don't think games are gonna help.
Why, you ignorant buffoon! Pick one quickly before I lose my patience with you.
Okay, geez, the one in the middle.
Ah, yes, Castlevania, Curse of Darkness. A fine choice. Now that'll be 400 rupees.
What in the hell is a rupee? Also, why are you charging me for a video game? It's literally the apocalypse. You know what? I'm just sick of this. I'm just gonna take this. Fucking weirdo.
Castlevania Curse of Darkness is oddly a cult-favored game. And when I say oddly a cult-favored game, I mean oddly not enough people like it. You would think a lot of people would like this game, at least I would, because I've never seen a game quite like this. The way that the innocent double system plays in this game and the way that interacts with like the map itself is honestly a lot of fun. This game is loaded with so many random obscure things to discover, between hidden materials that like you wouldn't even know playing through the game the first time even existed. Like there's an innocent double in this game that can only be evolved with a certain a specific weapon, and like you would never even know that that weapon's in the game. You have to go get a specific fairy type innocent double that will translate something that will tell you that the devil type can be evolved at a certain point with a very specific spear. If you're wondering why I'm not mentioning the name, it's because I honestly don't remember what it's called. So yeah, even the innocent doubles tie into the weapon crafting system, which is also its own like big old bag of beans that you can delve into as well. Not only that, but I honestly believe that like some of the art for some of the areas in the game are honestly just still beautiful to this day. Yeah, it's a PS2 game, so it doesn't look immaculate like your 4K resolution PS5 30 FPS experiences, but also like my game runs at 60 FPS, so haha. Areas like Gabri Temple or whatever it's called are actually immaculate. You walk in and you have this fog coming, like you have this moonlight and then coming through the windows, right? And then you have this fog throughout the building. And yeah, it's probably just a function to obscure the area ahead so the game can load it. But you know what? It looks so good. It's like the same thing they did with Silent Hill. Silent Hill wouldn't have been a beautiful looking game if they didn't include this, you know, the fog, which was used to obscure the map so it could load. It was a very common tactic during the PS2 era, and honestly, I think it looks gorgeous. Who knew being ignorant could be so wonderful? So our journey starts off with the Chad Hector chasing after fuckboy Isaac. Why does he look like this? I don't know. I think he looked cool in the anime, Isaac at least. Hector was a little like simp. I mean, he's a simp in this game, but he was like a giga simp in the anime. Like he was not interesting even remotely. I don't even think he had innocent doubles, dude. Like, damn, I need to not rant about the anime. So you start off, you go into this abandoned castle with Hector, you have a short sword, and then bah! Big bad guy jumps out, and then you stab him. And then you got a save point in front of you, and you run down a hallway. And, you know, you're just fighting skeletons. You're like, oh, okay, well, you know, they're dropping bronze. This is my ordinary action-adventure game. I'm going to cut up a bunch of things, get some materials, and make some cool new weapons. And then you encounter your first little green door, and you're like, what's this? You walk in, and now you have a fairy. You got Tinkerbell following you around. Thank God she doesn't talk the entire time. Otherwise, it'd be Zelda all over again, wouldn't it? So I think now is a good time to actually introduce the innocent devil system I've been tuning up this entire time. Now, this thing is the coolest system ever. Basically, every weapon has its own color assigned to it. Swords, red. Axes, blue. Punching things, yellow. Weird, wacky, quirky weapons, white. So every time you kill an enemy, you will get anywhere from 1 to 3 of these Evo crystal orbs. And, you know, you get up to 40 and your innocent double evolves, and now you have about 2 to 3 new abilities that you can learn. Some only have 1, but, you know, it is what it is. And this allows for so much replayability in this game. Not only are you hunting for like obscure materials to make like obscure weapons that you typically wouldn't make, but you also get eggs from these innocent doubles, and you can rehatch them and go down different evolution paths. Or you can mix some that you already evolved through and some that you haven't to get a new like set of, moves that you can have that Innocent Double use. So throughout this game, there will be 6 Innocent Devils. Well, there's 5 main Innocent Devils, and then there's one hidden away Innocent Devil, which I will get into that later. So we have the Fairy type, which is, your typical support healer. We have the Battle type, which is, your frontline tank / damage dealer. It's not really like a damage dealer, like intentionally. It just happens to do a shit ton of damage. Next up, we have the Bird. And the Bird's actually really neat because you actually have to use him to fly across large gaps. Oh my god, the Bird flies! Holy crap! Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But later on, you actually can get this ability leveled up, the glide ability leveled up into Long Glide, and it can allow you to get to some areas that you would have never been able to get to before. And that's pretty cool. Tower Evermore, we'll talk about that later too. Next up is the Mage type, and oh my goodness, the Mage type is not only the most extensive, like in terms of abilities and like evolutionary paths, but I think it's just flat out the strongest too. There's an evolution that looks hella quirky, but it allows you to like drop a star on fucking the enemies and then they just go kablooey, and it does like a ridiculous amount of damage. And honestly, like you can 3-shot some bosses if you level up your Mage type high enough. But in like your first playthrough, your second playthrough, you're probably never going to encounter that. So it's not really like a balancing problem, but it is a really strong evolution. And honestly, I just love the Mage type. It's what I have out for like most of my time. There's also a path that you could take that when you get to the 3rd evolution, I believe, you have to let the guy sit out for an hour with Hector, and you get this ability called Salamander. And I have no footage for this because I'm impatient. But the more you know. Now, technically, if you're not going for 100%, this is going to be your last Innocent Devil. And this guy is weird. He's hyper aggressive, like intensely aggressive. So you can just summon him, leave him out, and he's gonna go fucking batshit insane on anything he sees. But he doesn't really have a lot of abilities. Like he does. But like I said earlier, his last evolution's locked behind a specific weapon that you kind of can't get until like the end of the game. unless you steal from Isaac at some point in the game, which is kind of a pain in the ass to do. And even then, it's not very guaranteed if you spent materials on something else. Like you have to specifically start the game and plot out you're gonna make this weapon to level up the Devil type if you want to do it before like late, like after endgame, basically. This guy's his abilities are really weird. He turns into like a 2D circle on the ground, and then like you're completely immune to damage, and you can go through cracks in the floor, which opens up new areas of the game, including one main area. And later on, you can get it to where he like his 7th evolution, he like turns into the circle but with spikes pointing out. I don't have footage for this. Why don't I have footage for this? But yeah, other than the Devil type being like the Innocent Double shown in like the starting cutscene and everything, it's just like it just looks cool. I'm gonna be honest, it just looks cool and that's it. It doesn't really have any more practical use compared to like the Mage or Battle type, depending on what evolution you go into. So it's just a neat like additional option to have, other than like you are required to pick him up for the slipping underneath walls and stuff. So technically, lastly, we have the Pumpkin Innocent Devil. Now, I don't have footage for this guy, and I'm not going to because it is a real pain in the ass to get him. Basically, though, Innocent Devils in this game, as they level up, they give Hector stat bonuses. So, like, the Battle type increases your strength and, like, Constitution or something like that. So, basically, the Pumpkin type is a Innocent Devil that doesn't attack anything, but gives ridiculously high stat boost to Hector. So, if you want to just play the game as Hector only, after you beat the game, of course, because the Pumpkin type is like hidden in Dracula's temple. I'll show that later. So, you don't get it until endgame, and by then it's just literally I'm trying to get 100% kind of stuff. So it's a pain to make because you have to not only find him, which he's on the 6th floor of Dracula's castle, and he's super easy to just walk right past. I know he is because I've done it like 6 times, and I am always right, obviously. But not only if you find him, you have to create something called a pumpkin mace. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember how to make this thing. I'm sure I'll bring up the wiki page and throw it up so you guys have the knowledge that I don't. But I do remember this thing being a absolute pain in the ass to get. I think you need something like a miracle egg or something. And there is a way to get that. Well, 2 ways. You can either do Tower Evermore, which is a tower that pops up about, I'd say like the 3rd area of the game in the forest of like Juggernog or something, Jiggermog, I don't know. Dude, I don't know these names. Leave me alone, stop yelling at me. But basically, you get to this tower, it's surrounded by fire demon guys, and these guys are pretty cool. They drop 3 Evo orbs, and they're level 38 when you're probably like level 15 to 20, so they're pretty good XP too. Not only for you, but your instant double. And also, your instant double tends to level up faster than Hector in this game too, so yeah, it's pretty neat. Anyways, if you go inside this tower, there's 50 floors that you go up, and the enemies progressively get stronger throughout the tower, except for some free giveaway floors where there's no enemies, or it's spawning skeletons or spirits, which basically are the, hey, your instant double looks like it's not so healthy right now floors. So, you know, it's pretty welcomed. And now this is where that long glide comes in handy. Because now that you've finally battled your way up to the top floor, 50th floor, you get not only an accessory bag, which allows you to equip a whole new accessory. Holy shit, an accessory bag gives you another slot. Who could have figured this out? So, presuming you went down the right evolution path for your bird and turned him into one of those salamanders, fire or ice, doesn't really matter. They both learn long glide. You're going to walk up to those candles, jump off, and hit triangle, or, you know, restart the tower. I've fallen off the tower millions of times because I forget to hit triangle. But basically, it's going to take you to this new tower. And this tower, I like to call it Hell. Now, the way I like to deal with this tower is I overlevel, and then I go hide in a corner and let my instant doubles do everything, because you're going to die really quickly regardless. But basically, once you get to the bottom of this tower, you're gonna find something called Golden Bones, and it's just a golden skeleton. And it has a shit ton of HP. Like, you're just gonna be whacking on this thing for like 15 minutes to 30 minutes. But it's not hard to kill. It's just like a normal skeleton. It's slow as hell, so, you know, just beat on it for a while, and eventually you get this miracle egg, or whatever it's called. And that is the item you need, one of the items you need to make the pumpkin mace, I believe. You can also just go to another area in, like, the mountains right before the wyvern boss, and then just go in and out of the save point room until you see, you know, a golden skeleton appear instead of 3 white skeletons. But I'm gonna be honest, you're subjecting yourself to like the highest forms of RNG out there if you do that method, so I just recommend doing the Tower Evermore or whatever and its cousin, and hoping you just don't die until you get to the bottom floor. You also get a really nice vampire's blood or something like that that allows you to make weapons, I believe. I'm not totally sure on that one. I'm pretty sure, though. So yeah, that's how you get the pumpkin guy. Not totally worth it, in my opinion, but if you're going for that 100%, yeah, I guess it's worth it. So now, what I find really intriguing about the instant doubles in this game is that they interact with the environments. So, like, if the battle type instant double learns hit press level 2, there's a floor in the forest area right next to the Tower Evermore we were just talking about that you can crash through, and you can pick up 2 little items, you know, which are pretty neat. You also have the mage with this flamethrower spell that can unlock one of the rooms in the Albion Ruins. So at some point in the game, right before the Minotaur, you're going to encounter this long stretching room that has a bunch of like armors standing at the end of it, and if you walk up, you'll notice that there's a door there, and you're like, oh, how could I ever get rid of these things? My feeble sword does nothing to them. Turns out you need to get the battle type into the special evolution form, and I'll show that up on screen, and it learns an ability called Shoulder Ride, and that is what you use to nail down all those armors, and then, you know, you got 2 new secret rooms over there that, you know, have new items. Also, weird thing about this game, you can collect chairs. Why chairs? I don't know. But there's this weird room later in the game in like the Cordova Ruins or whatever. I don't remember what it's called. And I don't know. It's very wacky, whimsical, quirky, you know, all those fun words. So yeah, this game is loaded with little secrets that have you go back into like the areas that you already explored to use your new innocent doubles to get new items and new chairs for some reason. You know, stat boosts and shit. Like there's this little swing chair in the ruins that I was just talking about in Cordova town, and you need the devil type to slip underneath a fence, and there's like a stat boost right next to it, and that's something that you just cannot get until you know, go to the enormous clock tower place and actually get the innocent double type. So yeah, this game is actually intensely replayable. Not only are some of the areas in this game like absolutely gorgeous, and the OST is just honestly really on another level, but there are so many different little secret things that like you'll just never encounter on your first playthrough unless you're using like a 100% guide or something, in which case, I mean, you know, oh well. But yeah, no, I mainly just wanted to blush over how cool this innocent double system is, and I think it's a real shame that we've never even, like, it doesn't even have to be a Castlevania game at this point, but like we've never seen a system like this, at least to my knowledge, in any other game, and I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, I think this game is just criminally underrated, honestly. Hey, if you guys actually made it through this entire thing, just gotta say a good old thank you, because that intro is well, I like it, but honestly, it's gonna be very up in the air if that works out or not. But yeah, no, if you watch the entire video, just, thanks. Drop a like and tell me if there's anything you want to see next time. But till then, see ya.